Come join Rosie and me as we travel on Serenade of the Seas, January 4th through the 25th, 2016. Our 21-day cruise was an 11-day cruise, back-to-back, with a 10-day cruise. We stopped at 10 different ports during the 3 weeks. Friday, January 1st, Rosie and I flew Southwest Airlines to Fort Lauderdale. We stayed at the Fort Lauderdale Hilton Marina. Our balcony room faced Port Everglades. Sunday morning, January 3rd, I was up early to watch the Regal Princess enter the port. Our friends Paul and Dawn were on the ship, and we spent the day with them. At 3:30, we went back to our hotel room balcony to watch the sail away. We had dinner at the 15th Street Fishery. 5:30 a.m., January 4th. The ship we will board today, the Serenade of the Seas, is coming into port. Our ports of call for this cruise will be Aruba, Bonaire, Grenada, St. Lucia, Barbados, and Antigua. As Rosie and I wait to board the ship, let me tell you about the ship. Serenade's maiden voyage was August 25, 2003. The ship was refurbished in December 2012. The ship carries 2,476 passengers. A 9-story central atrium with glass elevators and floor-to-ceiling windows ensures incredible views. The ship features 3 pools, one with a movie screen, a rock climbing wall, and miniature golf course. There is a 2-story main dining room, a windjammer buffet, and specialty restaurants. For entertainment, there's a 2-story theater, a casino, and 16 bars and lounges. Self-leveling pool tables? Yep, Serenade's got that too. We had cabin 1604 with a large extended balcony. At 3:15, it was time for the lifeboat drill. As we sailed out of port, we passed the constellation that our friends Paul and Dawn were on. As we sailed away from Fort Lauderdale, it was time to get ready for dinner in one of the specialty restaurants, Chops, the Steakhouse. Tuesday, January 5th, was a sea day. Rosie and I started the day with a 1-hour walk on Deck 5. We spent most of the rest of the day on our balcony, watching the world go by. We had dinner in Chops. Wednesday, January 6th, was another sea day. Our morning started with our daily message from Mario.
A wonderful morning to all of you beautiful people. This is Mario, your concierge. I do hope that you folks had a wonderful rest last night.
We had breakfast in the concierge lounge, where Mario was on duty every morning. After our morning walk, we spent time on our balcony. At 6:30, we attended the chef's table, a 6-course meal paired with a different wine for each course. I meant to take pictures of each course, but as the wine started flowing, the pictures stopped. We had a fabulous meal. Thursday, January 7th. Welcome to Aruba. For our walk, Rosie and I headed to Surfside Beach by the airport. We watched planes taking off. Unfortunately, none landed while we were there. Across the bay from Surfside Beach, we had amazing views of sister ships Jewel, and Serenade of the Seas. After dinner, we took this photo and then stopped in the atrium to listen to big band music. Our cabin attendant left us a towel animal. Friday, January 8th. Welcome to Bonaire. Our shore excursion was on the Sea Cow to go snorkeling at 2 different spots. The snorkeling was fabulous, but the boat was overcrowded and it diminished the experience. Our sail away from Bonaire was early at 2 o'clock. I definitely want to go back. We had dinner at Giovanni's Table, the Italian specialty restaurant. Saturday, January 9th. Welcome to Grenada. For our shore excursion today, Rosie and I will walk to the fort on top of the hill. Fort George was built by the French between 1705 and 1710. The views from the fort are spectacular. A panoramic view of the inner harbor and the town of St. George. From the fort, we followed the narrow winding road into town for a couple of drinks. A panoramic view of the waterfront. Rosie and I were back on board in time for lunch. We spent the rest of the afternoon on our balcony, watching the world go by. Rosie and I took Mario, the concierge, to Giovanni's for dinner. Sunday, January 10th. Welcome to St. Lucia. Rosie and I walked from the ship into downtown Castries. We stopped at Walcott Square in the center of downtown. Across the street from Walcott Square is Immaculate Conception Church. Listen to the hymn coming from the church. From downtown, we walked back past the ship to the airport and to the Castries football, soccer field. Back in the port area, we had a local Piton beer. And then on the ship, we had lunch in the outdoor section of the Windjammer. After sail away, we had dinner and chops as we sailed past the Pitons, the twin peaks of St. Lucia. Monday, January 11th. Welcome to Barbados. Our excursion today is on Calabaza, a catamaran sailboat. Our first snorkel stop of the day was to swim with the turtles. After that, we moved a short distance to snorkel over 3 shipwrecks. After a sail further down the coast, it was time for a wonderful lunch. After lunch, some people snorkeled, others just enjoyed the view. Coming back to the marina, we passed the Serenade of the Seas. At 4 o'clock, it was time for sail away. At 5:30, we went to the concierge lounge for drinks, followed by dinner at Chops. Tuesday, January 12th, we're sailing by Montserrat to dock at 9 a.m. in St. John's, Antigua. Our shore excursion is Eli's Eco Tour with Adventure Antigua. Come enjoy the sights as we motor up the west coast, on our way to Long Island in the North Sound. From Long Island, we went to Hell's Gate and swam and then waded into shore. Once we were at Hell's Gate, we started the adventurous task of climbing up the rocks to get to the bridge at Hell's Gate. Rosie and I at the top of Hell's Gate. Getting up wasn't easy, and neither was coming down. From Hell's Gate, we went to Great Bird Island for a hike to the top of Bird Island. During the hike, we found the rare racer snake, which is only found on Bird Island. After a short but steep hike, we made it to the top of Bird Island. After lunch at Bird Island, there was time for a snorkel before we headed back to port for a 5 p.m. sail away. Rosie and I had dinner in Chops. Wednesday, January 13th, is the first of 2 days at sea as we head back to Port Everglades. Due to our Diamond Plus status, at 9:30 a.m., we had a bridge tour, complete with sitting in the captain's chair. 10:45, we had a galley tour. In the bread area, it was amazing to watch the machine make dough balls used to make rolls.
Got it? Rocket to place.
Food preparation line for the main entrees. The food preparation area for the appetizers, salads, cheeses, and desserts. The galley tour was amazing. At 4:45, the top tier event featured the loyalty ambassador, the staff captain and captain, and a preview of one of the entertainment acts for that evening. Rosie and I had dinner in Chops. Thursday, January 14th, after a 1-hour walk, Rosie and I had a late breakfast in the concierge lounge. At 10:45, it was time for horse racing at sea. In the Centrum, horse number 3 won this race. At noon, it was time for the Parade of Nations. There were flags representing the different nationalities of all the crew. The Parade of Nations was impressive. Mario and several others represented the Philippines. Of course, the captain got in the last word. You guessed it, Rosie and I had dinner in Chops. Friday, January 15th. They're kicking us off the ship today. No, wait! They're loading on more supplies. It's the start of the second leg of our back-to-back. On the second leg of our back-to-back, our ports of call are Tortola, St. Kitts, Dominica, Antigua, and St. Maarten. To make the second leg of the cruise even better, our friends Trish and Jay will be joining us. Also along for the cruise is Trish's sister, Lorraine, and her husband, Richard, and their friends, Carol and Steve. Sail away was wet, so we had to do it undercover. The rain stopped, and the sun started to peek through the clouds as we left Fort Lauderdale. All 8 of us had dinner at Chops. Saturday, January 16th, was the first of 2 days at sea. We played trivia and lost. We exiled ourselves to the balcony. with plenty of drinks to heal our wounds. The sunset was magnificent. We had dinner at Chops and found a towel animal in our cabin when we returned. Sunday, January 17th, the second of 2 days at sea. At 11 o'clock was the cruise critic meet and mingle. After that, we hung out in the schooner bar. We played trivia and won. We had dinner at Chops. Monday, January 18th. Welcome to Tortola. For our excursion, we took a ferry to Virgin Gorda to tour the baths. After Rosie and I took the Devil's Bay Trail, we took photos on Baths Beach. Next, we went to the top of the Baths bar and restaurant. The views from the deck of the restaurant were spectacular. Sail away was at 5 o'clock. We had dinner in Chops. Tuesday, January 19th. Welcome to St. Kitts. Here comes our sister ship, Jewel of the Seas. Rosie and I did not have an excursion on St. Kitts. We walked for about an hour and spent the rest of the day on our balcony. From our balcony, we could see Nevis, the sister island to St. Kitts. At 5 o'clock, it was time for sail away. Tuesday evening, we did the chef's table again. This time, I vowed to get pictures of the 6-course meal. Hearts of palm salad, sweet pea soup, butter poached lobster, braised short rib ravioli, prime beef tenderloin, chocolate sabotage. We were honored to have the captain make a special guest appearance. Trish and Jay and Rosie and I had a fabulous time at the chef's table. I highly recommend it. Wednesday, January 20th. Welcome to Dominica. Rosie and I had a late breakfast, and then we walked for over an hour. We have been to Dominica many times, so we did not have a shore excursion. Here you can see some of the damage that was done as the result of tropical storms that hit Dominica last summer. Unfortunately, 21 people died as a result of mudslides. Sail away was at 5 o'clock. At 8:30, Trish and Jay and Rosie and I took Mario to Chops. When we got back to our cabin, there was a towel animal and a magnificent view of an almost full moon. Thursday, January 21st, we are preparing to dock in St. John's, Antigua. Trish arranged an island tour for all 8 of us with VIP tours. Our first stop was at Devil's Bridge. Devil's Bridge is the result of waves that have crashed into the east coast of Antigua, creating a natural arch or bridge. The area surrounding Devil's Bridge is beautiful. Our next stop was at Nelson's Dockyard to view historic buildings and some of the world's largest yachts and sailing ships. Next, we headed to Shirley Heights for lunch. The views from the lookout were amazing. English and Falmouth harbors. After lunch, we stopped to see Eric Clapton's modest home. Then we stopped for some Waldelli beer and black pineapple, said to be the sweetest pineapple in the world. Last, we stopped at a beach for a swim and some refreshments. We were back at our cruise ship in plenty of time for the 6 o'clock sail away. Friday, January 22nd. Welcome to St. Maarten. For our excursion, we took the water taxi to the Holland House Hotel. At the Holland House, for $25, we rented a beach umbrella, 2 chairs, and a bucket of beers. We also received free Wi-Fi and the use of their facilities. All of us had a great time in the water. The ladies left the men on the beach, while they went shopping for some bling at Ray's. All of us had lunch and drinks at the Blue Bitch Bar. We then headed back to the ship for an early 4 o'clock sail away. Saturday, January 23rd. The next 2 days are days at sea, and they flew by. At 9:30, we had another bridge tour, and this time I sat in the captain's chair. I don't know where the rest of the day went, but we had dinner in Chops. Sunday, January 24th, our last day at sea before we arrived back at Port Everglades. At 10:30, we had a galley tour. We spent the rest of the day packing and on our balcony. We had dinner in Chops with Trish and Jay. Monday, January 25th, the day we had dreaded. They're going to kick us off the ship today. We saw a beautiful sunrise before we left the ship and headed to the airport. But we have nothing to complain about. We made memories to last a lifetime. Photos and video by Bill Raffel. Music by Kevin MacLeod.